Hey, it's Tess. I just thought I'd go live. For those that don't know me, I am a bariatric patient. I am in almost to my 10th year post-surgical. I started a BMI of over 60 and still working this journey and moving forward every day. But the beautiful thing about my journey is that it got me down a path where I changed all parts of my life. Things that I never thought I would change, and I'm doing things I never thought I would do. Lately, I've been talking about this Oprah journal, and she's got the Wheel of Life, and she has different things that she talks about. Like today, I'm going to look at the idea of renewal, and it's your ability to take care of your own physical and mental health and give yourself time to rest and recharge. And I think it doesn't always mean what we always think it does. And there's a couple of things that have happened at different times in my life where I thought that would be something interesting to talk about, because pre-lockdown, and I'm not saying there was anything good about lockdown, but I used the time during lockdown to educate, to try to do things differently, to learn different things. And for that, it was the greatest gift for me. Not that I'm glad we went through that process, but it gave me an opportunity to look at life differently. Most have already know this because I've said it a gazillion times, but during that process, I wrote a book. And actually, I was working on it today to get the hard copy, and I'm going to do an Audible, but I'm going to do the voice of the Audible. But I was having trouble. Every time I got to an end where I had to pay for something, this machine locked up and everything I put in was gone. And my editor, my illustrator, she was having the same problem because she was sending me memes all day today about throwing computers out the window. So I think we're just having one of those days. But I will get the hard copy and the Audible, and that will come down the road. But for right now, I wanted to talk about this idea of renewal. I've often gotten to points in my life, and I think renewal is kind of a reset. Renewal is a reflect, reevaluate. It's a reset. And I think it's an important thing to do, but not to totally disconnect, but to keep moving forward, but use it as an opportunity to evaluate if you can do things better. And I've thought about different points in my life where doing things better, doing things better. I remember pre-lockdown, I wasn't happy with the job, and I was trying to do things differently. And in doing things differently, I was taking steps down, kind of looking at my life as being a phase out. But for those that don't know or don't remember, when I first went into the surgery, I was hoping to get 10 years off the bench. And if I got called home after 10 years, meaning graduated or back up to God, I would at least have had 10 years of an active life, because I had a lot of things happening younger in my life, and I felt like I didn't really get to experience life. So the idea was 10 years off the bench, and my approach was that I was thinking that life was in a phase-out zone. That's what I truly thought at that time. Now we all know, I say the Grim Reaper better have an amazing set of shoes, because I'm going to slide in, God's going to high-five me and say, you might have been a late starter, but nicely done. But it made me think about pre-lockdown, what was I thinking about doing? I was thinking about winding down. I was thinking that there wasn't anything left for me to reach for and that it was time to wind down. And so I was even taking positions below what my skills were, but I was never happy. I was always trying to seek something, and I just never found it. And now I actually do things beyond what I ever did before, reach for things that are beyond what I ever had before. Now, before my journey started 10 years ago, I probably couldn't have, because I didn't have the energy to. But I find more satisfaction in trying to push limits. And I think I've probably always been that way, but based on some things that happened, it caused some big rocks in the road for me that I had to overcome. And what they were saying about this idea of reset is that it improves your mood. It actually, this idea of reset, something that somebody talked to me, and it may have been Doc V, because I see AC on here. I don't see anyone, I don't see the names of anyone else, but thank you for being here. But the idea of, I just saw Dexter. You know, Dexter, I'm going to remember one of these days to go live on YouTube instead of saving it to YouTube after. I got to remember that. I should put a note. But anyways, the idea of the reset, I think what we need to do is always be looking at next steps. I don't really know where I'm going to end up. I just keep pushing somewhere, and I'm going to find my way as I go. And I think that's something before I went down this journey that I was afraid to do. I always felt like I had to I felt like I was at a point in my life I had to wind down instead of approach things differently and maybe go through, use what I knew, but use it in a different way. I don't know if that was fear. Sorry about that. I don't know if that was fear, but I was afraid to keep moving forward. So I think this idea of renewal, you want it to not be a long-term thing. You want it to be a short-term, kind of like an adjustment, a reflection, reevaluate, and a move forward. But when you go through that brief period of time, it can improve your mood. It can increase your motivation. It can give you a new excitement for things because you have something new to look forward to. And I've talked before about use excitement instead of fear. They are saying scientifically that the feeling that you get inside of you is very similar, whether it's excitement or fear. So choose. Do you want excitement or do you want fear? Yeah, there you go. Here's like Dexter saying, it's like a modem reset. You turn it off and reset it and reboot it and go again. And I think that's really important as long as you don't let it be the new way of life, that you shut it down and you don't come back. But I think that's really, there's an excitement in it. Like for me right now, I have to keep reminding myself it's excitement, but I'm going down avenues I never saw myself going down. But it is really fun when you do something like I said, I have this book over here. I have, I could do another one. Doing lives was something I never thought I would do. Meeting the people that I meet. I never was one to meet a lot of different people. Even to kind of talk about that journey. How did I end up going to all the masterminds? Because it was something that's been talked about recently, but how did I end up going to all the masterminds? Well, what I'm going to tell you is it was a challenge. And what happened is after I took the challenge, I liked it and I just didn't want to ever miss again. And the way that came about is Doc V was pushing everybody in the tribe to go to an event. So I, being the planner I am, wrote down 3 events and said, okay, Doc V, which one of these do you think I should go to? And I sent him the list. And I had Chris Nagel's last inner circle in Buffalo, then his very first experience in Buffalo, and then Secret Knock, because those are the things that Doc V was talking about at the time. Now, what I expected is that I would send it to him, and he would tell me one to go to. So I sent it off to him, and you guys are going to know what happened next. He responded back to me and said, yes. And I go, yes, what? And he goes, yes, they're great. And I go, well, which one? And he goes, all of them. And I sat for a minute and I thought, what am I going to do about this? And what I realized about myself, what I know about myself is if I had thought about it, I would have talked myself out of it. So I pulled out my credit card and I signed up for all 3 of them and it didn't look back. And I don't think I've looked back since then. My only complaint would be is if I can't go to something. But I just pulled the trigger and I went. And I signed up right then and there because I knew if I gave myself time to think about it, I would talk myself out of it. But there's an excitement now. I truly enjoy going. And if I hadn't pushed myself to go to those events, I wouldn't have found out how much I love being around people that are doing things differently, and it gives me an opportunity to learn life differently. I am doing things very differently than I did before, but it's in ways similar to an industry that I was in, but I get to look at it differently. I now now I'm a licensed life insurance agent. I am a student of the IBC Practitioners Program. I understand the infinite banking process and how they use high cash value policies from mutually owned companies, specially designed and engineered, and you can use it for the infinite banking process to create a banking system. These are all things that had I not changed, I wouldn't be able to do right now. I would still be, actually, I'd be sitting behind a desk right now crying my eyes out because I only finished the regulatory filings and we were going to be working until June 1st to get the audited statements done. So it gave me a new lease, a new opportunity, a new way to look at things. I think for me, once I let go of the idea of fear, it kind of lowers stress because there's a stress in doing the same thing over and over again and feeling like you're on Groundhog's Day and you're not moving forward. It doesn't feel good. And it feels good to me to stretch. I'm not going to say it doesn't get uncomfortable sometimes, but I like that feeling of moving forward. It also talks about new routines and habits. I've thought about that often. My morning routine changes all the time. Like I'm getting ready to change it again because I want to do more types of things at the gym because I know that mobility can be better, and there's things I can do there that maybe I don't know or don't monitor in the same way at home. So it's time to change that up. I've been walking 15,000 steps for so long I don't even pay attention to it anymore. But that means it's time to do things differently. So when they talk about reset, or in Oprah's book they call it renewal, the kind of 10 things she says will help you to renew or restart or reflect and reevaluate, readjust is one, wake up earlier. Now I do get up about 4:50 to 5 a.m. at the latest. But could I get up earlier? Yeah, because I actually, and maybe I will, I do like the sunrise in the morning, but that might give me more time like with the gym in the morning. But I was watching somebody, and some of the most fit people are people that are getting up at 4:15, 5 a.m. But I don't think I heard anybody get up past 5 a.m. They get up and they get after it. If you don't get up and get after it, you, like my mom and I even found out, people probably wonder why does my mom in her mid to late 80s, why does she walk at 5 a.m. in the morning? Well, because we found that if we don't get up and walk, you negotiate reasons why you can't. If you get up and you do it, you don't have time to negotiate. You just do it and you're out. I mean, the only time she won't is like if it's raining and she's afraid of getting sick. Or when it was real slick and we had snow over the top, then she'd say no and I go, okay, yeah, because I don't want her to fall. She did fall once and we don't want that. But I think it may have been twice the entire winter season. The rest of the time, we walked all the time. So wake up earlier is an option. And I am backed up somewhere between like 4:45 and 5 a.m. On occasion, it'll be earlier than that. It just depends. A different route. I think that's important. Like in the walking, I like to change the route from time to time. If they're driving to work, change your route that you're driving to work. If you're in the gym, and I remember this. When I was training the first time to do a half marathon, I always did running on the treadmill, and then my trainer would come and get me, but he would always watch the treadmill, and then we would go do whatever workout we were going to do. And one day he goes, so how long has that been going on? And I go, what? And he goes, your heart rate's not up. And he goes, but your speed is where it normally is. I go, I know, it really sucks. I can't get my heart rate up. I don't know what happened. And he goes, well, I've got some bad news and I've got some good news. And I said, oh yeah, what's that? He said, well, the good news is you're healthier. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Because the bad news is it takes a lot more to get your heart rate up, so you're going to have to work harder. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's not so bad. But it was kind of cute because he's like, when did that happen? I go, I know, it'd been about a week, so he hadn't noticed it since the last time we had trained. But it's a good thing, but it just means you got to change things. So you've got to go a different route. Because your body is a machine, and if you keep doing the same thing you've always done, it gets used to you doing it, and then you got to change something, or it becomes more and more efficient with what you've done and created for it, and it will get better at managing it that way. So you got to change it up. So switch meals. I'm forever switching meals. I've been switching meals since I had surgery, and I just continually changed it. Like, I don't drink milk anymore, very, very, very rarely, and I have to be careful with it because I do have an allergy to it. But pre-surgery, I could drink a gallon of milk in a day or two. So I just am careful with what I do drink. Or if it's foods, like I eat, one of my favorite things now is hummus. I love hummus. Give me hummus, and I'm happy as a clam. And before surgery, I always laugh, like cottage cheese. And this is a story many probably don't know. It's been a long time. But after bariatric surgery, they used to have clothing sales in the hospital lobby. And you would work the lobby, and you would actually get to buy clothes from somebody else at a cheaper price. And then you would unload yours to somebody else who was at a different place in the journey. And when I was there, it was like less than 6 months post-surgical. And I had protein drinks, and I had some hummus. But I wanted something different. So I thought, I'm in the hospital lobby of the place that had my surgery, so I went into the cafeteria thinking I'd find something to eat. I walked through that place and there was nothing that a person that was as early in my journey could eat. And as I was walking out, I saw a thing, cottage cheese, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll have that. So I grabbed the cottage cheese, but it's bland, so I wanted to do something with it. So I got the cottage cheese, I mixed it with the hummus I had, and my nutritionist came over because she was running the sale with us, and she goes, that looks disgusting. And I go, well, I went to the cafeteria and they didn't have anything for me to eat, so what do you want me to do? And she goes, well, what is it? And I told her, she goes, but it's really, really good for you. So what I started doing is adding salsa and spices to it, and I called it Mexicali dip. Now, is it Mexicali dip like people would buy at the store? No, they'd be hugely disappointed if they got it. But in my head, that's what it is, and it's my cottage cheese dip. And now, actually, I went back in for a checkup about 6 months ago, and they were asking me what I ate, and the nutritionist, a new one, I told her, and she goes, "Oh, you got that recipe out of the cookbook?" And I'm like, "No, I created that recipe." They're using it in their cookbook now for the new patients coming through. So I thought that was hysterical. But it's changing your routine, changing the food you eat, changing the time you get up, switching your meals around, finding new hobbies or skills. For me, it's new hobbies and skills related to work, like getting my life license, getting my IBC practitioner's exam, learning the new CRM. It's not a new CRM, but to me, it's a new CRM. Then there might be another new CRM I'm learning. So it's always learning something, and I do find value and an excitement in doing that. This is a good one. Say yes to something you would normally say no to. And I do try to do that sometimes, but you got to be careful because sometimes you'll get yourself in a pickle. But sometimes those pickles are fun to get out of. So say yes to something you'd normally say no to. Journal. I journal all the time, and I do IMs all the time. I'm just getting more broad or more detailed with my I ams. Instead of I am happy, I am joyful, I am abundant, I am doing this, I am moving that forward, I am, so I'm changing them up a little bit. Nature. I love nature. I absolutely love nature. There's something healing. There's something meditative. I love sunrises, sunsets. Add some water, add a park, and I'm like happy forever. I'll follow you anywhere. Gratitude. I think gratitude's very important. And then this one will be hard, but unplug from social media. And I think you got to kind of figure out too, is it something you use that you need to keep certain parts of it and then cut other parts of it out? I think you just have to figure out how to manage it, because I don't think it's going to go away. You just have to figure out how to manage it. But I thought these were all great tools, and it's kind of, and I even found this when I was writing the book. It's almost like a lot of things apply to different disciplines, or whether it's renewal, or whether it's, like these 12 pointers she has, like resilience or gratitude. A lot of the pointers they come up with cross disciplines, so to speak. But really, that's not a bad thing, because if we can come up with anywhere from 7 to 10 to 12 items that if we take action on, we can change our lives in the direction we're going on, that's not a loss. That's actually a win, because it narrows our focus, helps us to readjust and to move forward. And I know I've had to do that often, and I'll continue to do that often, because I like this life now. I never dreamed my life would be going in this direction. I truly thought that within 10 years, I only hoped to get 10 years off the bench, and that is no longer the case. The case now is, what can I do to leave a legacy that is not that somebody has to know my name, but that I've helped people so that generations from now, they may not be blood related to me, but I impacted somebody who changed the lives of people that come after me. And I think that's important, and that makes me feel good. And I think for most of us, that makes all of us feel good. And since I see Dexter on here, I will try really hard to do this from YouTube tomorrow. And I'll finish with a quote from Oprah in this book where she's talking about renewal. And she says, "One of the things that particularly excites me about springtime is when the first bright green shades of baby grass start to emerge from the ground. The grays, the browns, and the whites of winter give way to the vibrant bursts of color, bringing along new life and new beginnings." Yeah, Dexter's yelling at me because I'm not on YouTube yet. I'll save this over there, though. Spring is a time of renewal. From spring cleaning to spring break, they're encouraging, and it's a spring is a time of renewal. From spring cleaning to spring break, we're encouraged to refresh both our surroundings and our spirit. None of us is built to run nonstop. That's why when you don't give up on yourself and you take care of yourself, your body will not rebel in sickness or exhaustion. So it's kind of saying, if you get a lot of sickness and exhaustion, maybe there is one or two of those things that you can change, whether it's getting up at a different time, going to bed earlier, changing some of the foods you eat, doing more of the affirmations or the journaling, something to help release the stress. This idea of self-care may sound indulgent, but in order to fully give of ourselves to the people we love, we must create space to focus on our own restoration. And that's that pouring from an empty cup. You don't want to pour from an empty cup. Giving yourself time to be to just be is essential to fulfilling your mission as a human being. Whether it's a simple walk in nature or sitting out in the backyard, even 5 minutes of stillness can help recenter and refuel us for the week ahead. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And I do find that a lot of the obstacles that we overcome can be fixed with a lot of similar traits. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing, because if we can put 1 or 2 new habits into place and it can help us to alleviate stresses in a couple areas of our life, that's a win. So if you think of something, whether it's getting up earlier, going to bed, or getting up earlier, going to bed earlier, changing some of the foods, meditating, journaling. If I'm having a rough day, I'll meditate more than once, because it helps me to clear my head. Walking outside, nature, anything like that really helps. And I think that if you find those things that make you feel good, it'll help you to move forward. So thank you guys for being here. I will write myself a note right now, Dexter, that I need to go live on YouTube. Because he told me that a few days ago, and needless to say, I have not done it yet. But I appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. Have a beautiful night, and we'll talk tomorrow. Thank you.